Welcome back, guys. I'm sure you all have been seeing maybe some news in the stock market in other countries, the yen, different markets across seas, everything going on. So in this video, we're going to be talking about now is the time to prepare for a recession and things you may be wanting to do during these times. But Kirby, what's going on in the world today?
To just put it in simple context, just what happened in the market a week ago. The big drop on Monday, it was called the carry trade. The carry trade got washed out, and the carry trade is simply people was borrowing money in the yen. That's Japanese currency. For people that don't know, Japan has had negative interest rates for maybe the past like 5 to 10 years, right? So technically they was paying you to borrow money. So what big institutions would do was go borrow money in the yen, transfer it to a appreciated market, i.e. the United States, and buy assets in the United States. And then what happened was Japan raised their interest rates, and then now it was quote unquote a margin call on the loans that was borrowed, or you had to, a cash in refi to, pay down some of that debt to keep your loan in compliance with the yen. So what happened was big institutions that was borrowing a lot of money from the yen and they needed to balance their books, they sold U.S. equities by big lots early on that Monday to pay off those loans or to get their books back right. And that's the reason why it was a big drop. And then people had the hysteria, especially when it was the biggest drop that we've seen since the COVID pandemic. And then so we saw a little back and forth. A lot of people was on the other side. Another thing that happened was the indicator, recession indicator that the Fed governor Jerome Powell uses. It flashed recessionary signals, and it's a signal that most of the big institutions use. I'm gonna give you the proper name for it. The sham rule recession indicator. That's what happened. So it flashed over the recession line that Friday once the unemployment numbers came out. The unemployment rate went to 4.3. Um, that is the indicator that most of the big money guys use to know that a potential recession is on the horizon. And that's when you see people unrolling their positions on the bigger side of it. As you've seen, Warren Buffett sold half his position in Apple. That's hundreds of billions of dollars that he sold in the market. Then he used that money, put it in cash, and then bought T-bills. Now, Warren Buffett himself owned more treasury bonds, short-term bonds, than the U.S. Federal Reserve owns by itself, just to put that in perspective. Usually, you go into T-bills or a safe haven investment when you think that there's going to be major downturn in the economy. So all that happened that same weekend, that same Friday. So we get the big drop, and then we get another drop. We get down to 516 or 510 on the SPY. Understand that the market, of course, is always forward looking. So they are already looking to say, hey, we might have a recession, 4 to 8 to 12 months down in the future. So that was the whole backdrop of what happened over the past couple weeks. But my onus to people, Alex, and you hear me say this all the time, is better be prepared than surprised. And before I get to how we can prepare for, how you prepare for a recession, do you got any questions, comments, concerns about what I just went over?
Yeah, so I mean, so that big drop Monday was definitely a huge drop, but the past couple weeks we've been seeing these drops from the all-time high of the SPY and the Nasdaq or the S&P 500. So, do you see this as a just chain of events leading up to something bigger in the market, or are these drops directly related to what's being announced in the news? Or is there a bigger picture that the viewers should be preparing for?
Well, the bigger picture in the scheme of things with those, massive drops, especially on that Monday, and then you seen it again that Tuesday and stuff, was all about the carry trade, and then the recession indicator, the sham rule indicator popping off. And now people, of course, we in the political time arena for president and things like that. And, people jockeying basing on who they think is going to win the presidency and things like that. But I always say the average everyday person knows when a recession is coming more than more than the big guys because they see the average everyday person. Now, in the stock market itself, the big guys, the big institutions, the big money guys, they're the ones that hold up the stock market. The stock market is not the economy. But in the real economy, everybody that's making 100K and below is because the numbers just matter of numbers. More people that's making 100K below than it is, people making over that number. They are the real economy. So if you, walking around areas, not just your local neighborhood, if you walking around areas and you see people struggling, then that's where the economy is going. The big families, the small number of big families that's out there, they're not stimulating the economy enough to cover all those, millions and millions of people that's under the 100K mark that's struggling. I know people that's over the 100K mark that's struggling, but just giving a reference point. So if you seen during COVID that, your cousins, family members, friends, people in your neighborhood, they wasn't paying rent, they didn't have to pay their student loans. They was getting, the loans and getting the enhanced unemployments and things like that. And they wasn't setting it to the side, which was most people. They wasn't setting it to the side, realizing, hey, sooner or later, we're going to have to pay this. And then instead, they went out, bought cars that they normally wouldn't afford during, 2019, 2020, before COVID happened. They wouldn't normally be able to buy that. They're going on vacations, they doing all this stuff instead of setting money aside. Now, fast forward, now they're back to paying rents, they're back to paying mortgage, they're back to paying student loans. And now the prices are 10, 15, 20, 30 times higher than it was before. Their paychecks that they had at the job, they didn't increase their pay by that much. So now what are they doing to compensate their life and the added expenses of monthly payments that they added on with car payments, insurance payments, yada yada yada, everything else that people can buy that they bought during those times, and then student loans. Now they're swiping their credit card just to keep their head above water. Now they're at a point the credit cards are maxed out. Now their credit's starting to get damaged and it's starting to roll over. I mean, there's pockets in the United States, especially like Texas, you really don't see that effect of what because their economy is, pseudo insulated. But for most of the parts of the United States, this is what's going on. Insurance rates is at all time high. Car repossession delinquency is very high. So that's really, the landscape that we're in. Moving forward with, talking about being prepared or preparing yourself. So understand most people, now I already explained how people in the average everyday person can recognize a recession before. But this is what most people do. Most people let the news tell them what happens. And the news only reports after something has happened. So for the people and the layman that's out there that don't understand, the news will not report a recession until we have two negative quarters of GDP. Two negative quarters of GDP. One quarter is 3 months. So they won't get on the news channels, the CNNs and things like that until that happens. What does that mean? That means we've already been in a recession for 6 months. So when the news tell you, oh, we're in a recession, we've already been in a recession for 6 months. So if you starting to prepare after you're already 6 months in a recession, it's too late. The goal is if you starting to see indicators that people around you are struggling, you need to start shoring up your finance. And I'm not saying the recession is coming tomorrow. I don't believe they're going to announce, a formal quote unquote recession. If they do announce it anytime soon, not until March 25, March or June of 25, somewhere around there, if it happens. So what you need to do is start shoring up your finances now. You need all the, consumer debt, get that off the books. Try to cut down your monthly expenses to the lowest point as possible and try to save every dollar you can. And then, of course, you're going to have the people on here saying, oh, he's fear mongering. He's fear mongering. No, I'm not fear mongering. I'm being prepared. I think Patrick Bet Davis said it best. Only the paranoid survive. Because so let's say I'm 100% wrong. And the only thing I ask you to do is, lower your monthly payments, pay off your debt, and stash cash. Let's say June 2025 comes and there's no recession. The worst thing that's going to happen to you is you have less debt and you have a lot of cash saved up. But let's say you do the opposite and wait for the news to tell you. And you don't do that, you YOLO, you living your best life, you doing whatever. Then the recession hit. Then you trying to call people who did made that sacrifice beforehand to try to save you. And it won't be a lot of people that's making that sacrifice early on to try to save you. So Alex, you got anything on preparing for a
Yeah,
potential recession?
I think you stole my points, but that's what I was going to touch on actually is just when preparing for a recession, it's the idea of like doing it beforehand because you don't want to wait till there's actually already a recession. You want to do it when times are good, when when you have that money coming in because the other thing too is once you hit a recession, companies are starting to look to cut costs as well, and that includes you as an employee. So at that point, if you don't have any cash saved, if you have still all your debt, your lifestyle is still inflated, and then you lose your job at the same time, that is terrible. I mean, that's a hard spot to be in. And a lot of people went through that, especially during the last recession in 2009. So, like you said too, going back to like the big guy and the little guys, like a recession will only affect you if you allow it to affect you. Like like you said, I think it was great how you compared the two, like the big guys that control the stock market basically, like that's what pumps and drops the market is their money invested into it. But that's outside of your individual life as a regular middle class or lower class citizen of, of America. What goes on in your life is basically what's going to determine if you and your family are already in a recession. Do you have a job? Do you have savings? Do you have debt? Controlling these things now is going to better or worsen you when things get even harder in the outside world. So I think people right now could be in their own family recession. Like they just lost a job, they have too much debt, they don't have enough savings. If you can better these things now, when a recession comes on the news, you yourself and your family may not be in a recession. You might be fine. You might have, like Kirby said, you might have just paid off all your debt, have the savings, you're prepared. Maybe your job isn't looking to cut, too many employees, or you've developed some kind of side hustle or something, but do things now to prepare for that so that the outside world can't force you into a worse position. And there's a saying that you always say is like, if you don't make changes now, the world will force you to make changes, something like that. And that's the point. You don't A recession doesn't have to affect you. It's up to you to decide if you're going to let it to affect you.
Right, and you're right. So even when COVID was happening, this before they passed out the stimulus checks and things of that nature, it affected it affected my family not at all because year round, 24/7, 365, we don't increase monthly payments whatsoever. We keep our monthly payments, and it's a simple psychological reason why. Is if we keep our monthly payments to the lowest cost that we need to survive low, if everything went to crap, we can go get in. I'm not knocking people that work at Walmart, McDonald's, or things like that, but we can work at those places and still survive. We don't need to go out there to the corporate world and find a job that's paying us seven figures just to or six figures just to survive. So I'm all about people go on vacations and all that stuff, but you got to have the cash pile to do it. But we not adding monthly payments. We ain't doing no buy now, pay here's to do a damn thing. You know, uh, those are the avenues that we take on a life basis. That's the way we live our life. And again, we're not sitting here in shelters. We're not packing, ammo and food up, thinking that the world's coming to an end. That's that's not what we're doing. It's just we all and this is the crazy part, Alex. This is the crazy part. So when everybody has money and then everybody's going on vacation, party, and doing all this stuff, right? All the prices go up. I mean, you notice during COVID and all that, when COVID was winding off, and then people had all the stimulus money and everybody was going to travel. I say right here. But now the recession, whenever it comes, people, it will come one day. When a recession comes, then the demand drops, prices drop. I'm all in now because I've been saving this whole time. I'm like, oh yeah, I can go here, I can go here, I can go because it's cheaper than what it would be because the demand drop. But again, like I said, we're not fear mongering. I'm just saying the worst thing that can happen if you listen to what we say, you will have money. And I guarantee you, you won't hit in the comment section. I listen to y'all. I saved all this money. Now I'm mad I have money. So I'm not worried about that. But you would sit here and be in the comment section if you didn't do nothing, and you'd be like, hey, why didn't y'all mention anything about a possible recession coming? So now the choice and the onus is all up to you on what you do. Because this is a lifestyle for me. It's not something that I turn on and turn off. Just because let's say I bring in $20,000, $30,000 a month, I'm not spending $20,000, $30,000 a month. You might get two or three out of me, but that's about all you're gonna get. That's just the mindset, and that's how we live our life. And I wish more people was like that. And I know that's probably not possible because people just think, oh, we only live once. But I think, well, I know we always in a better situation when bad times come because our life don't stop. We just keep on going on like it's a normal day. So a hard time is never a hurdle for us. Alex, you got anything before we close out?
We'll close it there. With all that being said, guys, if you're doing anything now to prepare, let us know. If not, hope this video gave you guys some ideas. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next one.